But the big story over the weekend has been the controversy over the traditional marriage of a 12-year-old to the Gborbu priest, which has it's a big story. Internationally, it's been covered. In fact, yesterday I was listening to the BBC news at 8 o'clock, and they sort of gave it like a 2-minute plug without giving the full context. Well, we are here. We know the details. I think we need to take this from the beginning, because it was a big ceremony. So this wasn't a secret thing. It was a big ceremony.
No.
And it was done like a normal engagement. And then
traditional marriage.
Traditional marriage. You had a lot of people coming wearing white. And then you had this MC woman. And usually when they do the traditional marriages, the MCs are the real stars of the show. And if you listen to what the woman said and you understand Ghana, you'll be troubled, because she essentially was urging the young girl to get ready for wifely duties. And of course, this has been roundly condemned as it ought. What I want to do, though, is to take you back to the ceremony itself, so you hear what actually happened, so people can know what happened. It's not reported speech. And then we'll give you all the reactions, because we've had reactions from all over the place. We've had reactions from the police. We've had reactions. So I think the police is the main state institution that has responded. We haven't heard officially from any ministry yet. Okay, I'm told the Minister of Chieftaincy has also said they are investigating the matter. So that's the second government agency. So the police, Ministry of Chieftaincy. And then we've heard calls for different things. Some people are asking for the Ministry for Gender and Social Protection to intervene. Some have called for the arrest of the priest. And many have roundly condemned what happened. So I would sort of take us all back to what happened, so you can listen for yourself and then you can decide what happened. There's been statements issued by different groups.
Yes,
so many. The GaDangme Council has also issued a statement seeking to clarify. I think that's the word they used in their statement. We'll read all those statements for you this morning. Let me take you to what happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
It's always good to start from the beginning. This was a public ceremony. So it wasn't a private thing. It wasn't hidden from public domain.
It was streamed live.
It was streamed live on social media as well. The voice you would hear is the MC. Usually the marriage MCs are quite interesting to listen to.
Very interesting.
And this was when they were giving the gifts. And she was appellating, talking about what the gifts would do for the girl as she prepares for the marriage. Here's an excerpt.
You are a wonderful instrument for enjoyment. And Nungua Sade enjoy Nungua Yebele, a year Cassie. Jano Bagate. Obo Lupasha, 1 year down, wooding. And 1 year Castle Bridge, not a jump to sumi. 1 year was Schnapp, 1 year was red label, 1 year was green label, 1 year was blue label, 1 year was yellow label. Michaka Siana Babo de me, a label ye. Nimicho Miake, Akababie. 1 fair blame Makusu. And I 1 year was fractal. Ni telemai ya mi opo ni wakaba. Jeno bekake. Ahawale ake away to a man's heart through his stomach. Koto no wuhia meshia. Tano ho ni ohale. Neye ketope e ma abo mweni kaka habo shishini. Yes. Alona abolito. Yeah. Kanu eto e ma abo mweni ne ma abo shishini. Aloni je lagai. Thank you. Ene wa ni wọ́n fẹ́ blame akusu yi wọ́n yẹ wọ́n kúkọ́ wọ́n yẹ kẹjẹ ewulu nọ kẹbàṣí kẹgbẹ́ ní ìkànnùbà wòmí ní ìbánu kúkọ́ yẹ ní màṣí ọ̀nà kẹ atọ́ blame náà lóní mẹbi ní ẹ̀kọ́ ẹ̀kyẹ̀ bí yàrá fẹ́ kò pẹ̀tẹ̀ kúkọ́ yẹ kò fẹ́ kò yẹ bọ́nà fẹ́ ní akáhó ní ara ní ẹ̀jẹ̀ kẹ ní bàánú lóko fi o ẹ̀ẹ́nu.
So that was the MC. I'm not a guy, but I sort of got some of what she said. I think this was when they were, usually when somebody gets married, they give them
Yes.
things.
You present.
So I think they give her perfume.
Yes.
And then
she was giving beads for the waist, beads for the neck, beads for the hands.
So the perfume, she said she should put on her body so that the man will play romance and enjoy.
Yeah.
And then she said the beads as well. But she also said something about the beads, and it said something about food.
Yeah, so she was saying that because essentially the wife has to cook for the husband, so the man has to eat. So they've
and then when he cooked for the man to eat, is it
then
it's innuendo, right?
Yes,
it's
heavily innuendo.
The whole thing was very sexual in the way she was describing.
Yes, and from what she was saying, you read in between the lines, you can tell.
Yeah, so what I'm not sure of is whether she was joking or whether she was serious. Because they all know she's a 12-year-old girl.
Yes.
And from the way, and this is a marriage. I don't know if it's just a ceremony, like a perfunctory marriage rite, but for which she will not be giving to the man. But if you listen to what the woman said,
this sounds very full-blown. These are things you'd hear
in a proper marriage.
In a proper marital setting. I've heard that a lot of time when I was getting married.
So this is not, what Maps is like, if this were like some right which is just like because the impression that the GaDangme Council is creating is this is like
customary.
It's not really a marriage.
It's betrothal.
Yeah, you get me. So they think it's a marriage and a betrothal. But when you listen to the woman,
now when you are betrothed to somebody, what does it mean?
It means you've been giving the person's hand.
Oh, yes. Does it not? It ultimately ends there
in the marriage.
So the defense, I've read, that she's off limits until she's of age legally. It
wasn't clear from the ceremony.
Yes, what we are listening to, I think, tells us something that is different.
Let's read the statements that have come out so far. Kale, how many people have responded to this? It's quite a barrage.
Bernard, I've seen one from the Pediatric Society. Pediatric Society has spoken.
So these are medical professionals who are into child health.
Yes, please.
And what are they saying?
Well,
it's quite a long statement.
Yes.
Then there's one from Child Rights International. Yes. Then there's one from EduWatch. Then there's one from the police. Yeah. Then I've heard Otinto also comment on this. The Simple Manche. I guess he's also condemned this, and then I've seen one from the Contradictions Council. Now I'll end with the law, but I just want to hear the statements first, right? So if you go to the Citi Breakfast Show platform, we put out a statement issued by the Pediatric Society, 2 pages. Let me just read portions of it. Caleb, if you can get it for me, I'll be very happy to go through this quickly. In the meantime, your own comments are welcome. 054-998-6996. 054-998-699. What do you make of this? Is it we misunderstanding tradition, or by the way, there's a new statement that just came in. GaDangme lawyers condemn marriage between Gborbu Wulomo of Nungua and minor. So this is dated April 1st. So it's an interesting one. A group of lawyers who are of GaDangme origin have sent this to us. Let me just read it to start off. The GaDangme Lawyers Association expresses its strong disapproval of the recent marriage between the Gborbu Wulomo of Nungua, Numo Bokete Lawe True, the 33rd, HCC3, and a 12-year-old girl, which took place on Saturday, March 30, 2024. Despite claims that the marriage was by customary rights and will not engage in any marital duties until she turns 18, this does not negate the fact that her fundamental human rights, as enshrined under Chapter 5 of the Constitution, have not been upheld. It's important to note that the Children's Act provides that the minimum age of marriage of whatever kind shall be 18 years. And since she is below the age of consent, she is unable to legally consent to the marriage. Ghana signed the Convention of the Rights of the Child on 29 January 1990. And 1 week later, on February 5, 1990, Ghana became the first country in the world, this is significant, first country in the world to ratify the treaty, committing to adopt into national law some traditional practices such to adopt it into traditional law. Some traditional practices such as this do not uphold the protection of children's rights. The Children's Act also clearly states that the best interest of the child shall be paramount in any matter concerning a child. It is evident that in this case, the best interest of a 12-year-old has not been made a priority. The GaDangme Lawyers Association calls for an immediate end to this practice and urges the community to prioritize the well-being and rights of children. We call on the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection Honorable Lariba Zuwera Abudu, and child rights organizations to intervene, to all media houses with 2 phone numbers put there. So this is one of the statements that have come up.
Yeah, Bernard, the Pediatric Society statement is also dated the 1st of April, and it says, Pediatric Society of Ghana statement on child marriages and other related forms of child abuse in Ghana. The society has observed with great distress that discourse on various media platforms on a report of a child marriage in Accra. The society wishes to state as follows. 1. Ghana is reported to have over 2 million girls currently married or women who were first married off as children. 1 of every 5 young women were married off as innocent children, and 9 in 10 married girls are not attending schools. 9 in 10 married girls are not attending school. As a country, we have made good progress towards eliminating this unpopular practice of child marriage. However, accelerated actions are needed. 3. Publications of open child marriages, verified or not, and regardless of the socio-cultural intentions, only show us down from protecting our children from the deleterious harm of this abhorrent practice. 4. The perceived acceptance of child marriages and the open brazen approval or defense of the practice by influential leaders of the community have the potential to embolden certain deviant behaviors like pedophiles. 5. Child marriages are dangerous, both real and so-called arranged informal unions where the child is supposedly a symbolic wife and not expected to perform any marital duties, including conjugal duties. These are dangerous. 6. Preventable damages to the child's development, reproductive and mental health and education can be irreversible and generational. 7. Collectively, we must remove the shroud of deception which portrays these cultural practices as harmless and protect our children. We cannot openly endorse such unions and still expect the child to be able to report any abuse perpetrated to these same adults who watched on as the child was being married off to the abusers. This is confusing. 8. The PSG strongly condemns any act or perception or facilitation of child marriage on the right to refuse betrothal and marriage. The Child's Act 1998 states, quote, no person shall force a child aged less than 18 years to be betrothed to be the subject of a dowry transaction or to be married. It should never be suggested that a child willfully agreed to a marriage or any similar union. Our children trust us to make decisions in their best interest. Let us not betray their trust. 9. The PSG calls on all agents and agencies with the mandate to protect children from such harmful socio-cultural practices to respond swiftly and save the children already traumatized by child marriage practices. 10. We appreciate the contributions that all state institutions, non-governmental and partners have made over the period to address the issue of child marriage in Ghana. You have our unflinching support to continue your efforts until child marriage and other forms of child abuse are totally eliminated. 11. The PSG understands that there are so many dimensions to the practice of child marriage and further discussions to lead to incisive actions are needed. All stakeholders and well-meaning Ghanaians can agree on this. We are on the side of the child. 12. We will support the efforts of the government and all partners to protect the best interests of every child everywhere in Ghana. This calls for strong national commitment at the highest level of the political, traditional, health, educational, judicial, and media landscape, with unwavering support from our international partners like UNICEF and WHO. This is signed by the President, Hilda Mantibia Boy, and General Secretary Gabriel Obeng, granting all doctors.
Wonderful. So that's Pediatric Society of Ghana. Yep. We've also heard from the GaDangme Lawyers Group.
Yes.
There's few other statements. Let me just repeat some of the highlights of the ceremony, and I'll do a couple of interviews as well. So this was where the gifts were being given as part of the marriage.
And Nungua, you are a wonderful instrument for enjoyment. And Nungua, eyin kasi je no be keke obo nu pa sha won ye da woji won ye wa Castle Bridge na ka fiam kusumi won ye wa Schnapp won ye wa red label won ye wa green label won ye wa blue label won ye wa yellow label mi jo ka si afesi na ba bo temi label ye ni mi cho mi aka ba bi e won fe ble makusu ena e won ye wa fractal ni telemai ye mi opo ni wakaba je no be keke aha wale ake away to a man's heart through his stomach koto no wuhi amehia tano ho ni ohale na ye ke tope e ma bo nwani kaka ha bo shishini yes ala na walito yeah kanu eto e ma bo nwani le ma bo shishini alo ni je na kai thank you ene wo ni wo fe ble makusu e wo ye wo kukwai wo ye ka je ewulu no tabasi kegba ni ekanuba womi ni ebanu kukwai ni machine ona ka ato ble mano no ni mebi na ko echebi ane fe ko pete kukwai ko fe ko e bana fe ni aka ho ni ani ejake ni banu no kofio.
All right, so that was a highlight of the ceremony. I have on the line Nibote Kofi Francois, who is the Nungua man crowd. Nibote, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning to you and listeners.
So the ceremony that took place over the weekend, which excerpt I just played on air, what actually was it?
All right. Once again, good morning to our listeners. I mean, what happened on Saturday is the right for now Yumu Ayemwede traditional right. Now, someone will ask who is now Yumu Ayemwede and the connection with the Gborbu Wulomo. The Gborbu Wulomo, who is the spiritual head or the overlord of the GaDangme state, upon assuming his office as the Gborbu Wulomo, customarily has 4 wives that aids and assists him in attendance to his traditional and customary duties within the Gborbu temple. Outside the Gborbu temple, he has another customary wives and traditional concubines, which are all customary. They also aid in attendance to his traditions and customs outside the Gborbu temple. Now, the Gborbu temple house the 99 deities of the GaDangme people, which is more or less the spiritual headquarters of the GaDangme people. Now Ayemwede, customarily, is always the last of the 4 within the Gborbu temple. Now Yomo Ayemwede performs some traditional rites, which is peculiar only to her. And since our existence as the people of Nungua over 820 years, it is always a virgin that performs that particular rite. Now, one of her rites is to perform the Nungua rite, which she does 3 times within the year to usher in the celebration of the Omo festival for the entire GaDangme state. She also assists the Gborbu Wulomo in performance of his rites within the temple. She also assists the Gborbu Wulomo to perform the Gente Inishwamo rite for the Meridian Rock, which is at Nungua and Notema, and also assists in other certain rites. Now Ayemwede sits on a virgin stool. The stool that is associated with his traditional office is purely for a virgin to sit on that stool, which is called Shadi. Now, as I indicated earlier on, the Gborbu Wulomo has 4 customary wives. One is almost 96 years. The second one is around her 70 years. The third one is around 30. And then this one, which is 13 and not even 12. It is pure customarily and nothing sexual about it. Now, when the traditional rite is being performed, it is being performed in a sense of marriage, because that is how the customs and the tradition stipulate us to perform the rite as such. But it has nothing to do, because there are 3 customary wives aside now Ayemwede. All of them have their husbands.
So what you're saying is that the Na Yomo Ayemwede is not performing the role of a wife per se, but being one of the 4 customary wives of the Wulomo,
of the stool.
of the
So it's
stool,
not even-
of the stool. Can you explain that?
Because-
What's the difference?
Of the stool.
What's the difference
is
between
that
the difference between married to the Wulomo and the married to the stool?
The difference is that today, when the Wulomo is no more, and I happen to become the Wulomo, I inherit the process.
Okay, so that's fair. But why is it called a marriage? And why was the woman MC, in giving the gifts, making specific references? When she gave the girl the perfume, she talked about the man has to enjoy. She spoke about food. The way to a man's heart is the stomach. Spoke about the beads. All the things the woman said are the things you say when you are marrying off a person. And we know that some of those are sexual in nature. We all heard it. So if it's not a marriage, why was she saying the things she was saying?
Bernard, you see, when we are performing tradition and customs, every tradition and custom is performed in the sense of its reality. But and another level of it is just tradition. You understand? It's just tradition and custom, and it does not translate to its reality, because when we are performing right, we have to perform it in a way that is said that it needs to be performed. But in real sense, that is so, because yesterday I was telling somebody, if a chief is installed as a chief, a queen is also installed. Now, most of the queens that are installed as queens, all of them have their husbands. But it's believed within that setup that, the chief and the queen, they are good couples, so they are nice couples. They will manage their town well. But in real sense, they still has an husband. And not in the sense of marriage, the way we see it.
But we also agree that traditional rights must be in conformity with the law of the land. And so the law is very clear that minors cannot be 1, married, 2, betrothed, or even 3, be subject of any dowry transaction. So whilst our constitution and our law accommodates traditional rights and practices, it is very clear that a person below 18 should not be betrothed to any man or anything, be subject of any dowry, or be married. So whilst the Gborbu Wulomo has a right, and the stool has a right to perform those traditional rights, it must not violate Ghana's law in doing that.
Bernard, I agree with you to a large extent, but I always say there's always a thin line between customary law and then constitutional law. And what happened yesterday, it is not the constitutional marriage in the sense of which everybody is speaking about it. It is just customarily when she is of age and she wants to marry any person of her choice. That is her choice, because I've indicated that the other 3 customary wives of the Gborbu Wulomo, all of them they all have their own husband. And the first one, which is almost 96, also went through same right at the age where I was not even born. She's 96, she's still there, she has her own husband. And it is not in that sense the way people are seeing it, because it is just customary, like a young king has been installed. By our tradition, we install chiefs and queens, priests and priestesses, even at the conceptional stage when they are in the belly of their stomach, their mother's stomach. So it is just customary.
Yeah, sir, I agree with the point. And most traditional areas, people are queens who are not married to the kings. And so that's known. But since 1990, Ghana has been very clear in its law about children. You see, so the 13 or 12-year-old girl's own is problematic in the sense that, to all intents and purposes, for all of us seeing it, it was a marriage. The way it was manifested. So even it was, if you are even saying that it's just a traditional right, the way the MC manifested the marriage is the concern that a 12-year-old or 13-year-old was being married off and given advice as to how to take care of a man in a marriage in public.
Those are the excesses, but it is not as such. No.
Because if, for example, you say she's a virgin, why are you telling ukeko hale ni emabo engweni ke eshishini. Ona, how do you say such a thing to a virgin? I'm coming. I'm even saying that, you see, we are talking about a society which has challenges with young girls under 18 getting pregnant. So should the traditional council publicly be allowing a ceremony that sexualizes a 13-year-old in this manner, even if it is customary? Clearly, even from a social point of view, that was off.
There is no sexuality attached to what was done. The MC, those are some of the excesses that have associated the whole event. Because you see, if you have attended a GaDangme, right, even naming ceremony or funerals or any of our events, you will hear commentaries which are not real. You will hear commentaries which are not real. And it is just to spice what is being done. But those are the excesses. But what the rite that was performed has no sexual engagement whatsoever.
Yeah, but my point is that you cannot, whatever you call it, whether it's a marriage, betrothal, right, whether it's a dowry, whatever you did is illegal, because the law is very clear that if somebody is not up to 18, you cannot, under any guise, tradition, religion, or anything, purport to do anything in semblance of a marriage. So what you've done is a violation of Ghana's laws.
But it was just customary.
The constitution, you see, the customary law is accepted by our laws. In fact, there's marriage by ordinance, there's Mohammedan marriage, and there's customary marriage. So the fact that you say it's customary does not mean that it should not be legal. So in fact, if you go to marriage and you decide to go by customary route, the law recognizes that. So my point is that when you say it is customary, does not absolve you from the illegality of the act. Saying that the Nunguas too has to come again, because the claim that it's just a traditional right and that what was done was customary does not vitiate the fact that you have broken the law.
Bernard, what happened? It is just a traditional simplicity for the tax ahead of her and for her to perform her rights in her full rightness. You understand? It's for her to perform her rights, her traditional duties in her full rightness, and not what is being preached.
So, by the way, who is the stool wife of the Wulomo? Just to be clear, or all four?
As I've indicated, the Gborbu Wulomo, upon assuming his office, has his own marriage. But if you assume the office as a Gborbu Wulomo, within the Gborbu temple, the Gborbu Wulomo has 4 customary wives, and they assist the Gborbu Wulomo in performance of his traditional and customary duties by aiding him and assisting him to perform his traditions and his rights. So I've indicated earlier on. The other 3 have their own husbands.
And have all the rights, this symbolic Seyo function, has it always been performed as a marriage?
Yes. Because it comes like a king and a queen, where other jurisdiction, the queen will come and kneel in front of the king and then perform certain rites and then put the crown on her head. That look, henceforth you are my queen. But at the end of the day, the queen has her own husband.
Okay, now
into public,
fine.
Into public. The husband of the queen does not come to the queen. It is only the king and then the queen that perform their public function. When they go home, she goes home back to the husband. But anytime there is a traditional event out, the queen does not go and sit with the husband or even have anything to do with the husband. The queen will come straight to the king and perform all traditions and customs publicly. When she finishes and goes home, goes back to the husband. And we have now, as I've indicated, we have young guys or children, both men or boys and girls, who have been installed kings and they have been installed queens.
All right, you see, Nibote, what you are saying seems to contradict what the GaDangme Council said in their statement. Let me read it. This is Ayiko Otu's statement, who say he has engaged, or the council has engaged the Gborbu Wulomo himself and some of his elders. And it's important to clarify that the traditional ruler has stated that the relationship with the underage girl is a betrothal. These are his words, a betrothal and not a marriage. Then he goes on to say, we are inclined to side with the Gborbu Wulomo since the original reportage made the point that there was another ceremony that awaited the girl to purify and prepare her for procreation. We concede that while betrothal could involve an underage person, it does not grant license to the person to start having sexual relations with such a child, thereby jeopardizing education and even endangering a difficult childbirth since her organs are not properly developed. The GaDangme Council calls on the Gborbu Wulomo to address the issue and mitigate the concerns surrounding the betrothal and ensure the girl's rights are protected. So I have two questions in this statement. Number one, GaDangme Council is saying what happened is a betrothal. Now, a betrothal in the Child's Rights Act is prohibited for anybody below 18. So by saying that it's a betrothal, they have incriminated the Wulomo, because the law says a person under 18 cannot be married, betrothed, or be the subject of a dowry. And the GaDangme Council, by using the word betrothal, claiming that after they spoke to the Wulomo, that's the word they used. My point is that simply incriminates you, because if you say it's a betrothal, it's clear that you cannot do that.
Bernard, I have not cited Honorable Ayiko's two statements, but I'm speaking as part of the traditional leaders from Nungua. And what was done is what I'm explaining to you. You understand? What was done is what I'm explaining to you.
So was it a betrothal that they did?
What was done is what I've explained, that it is a customary right just for now for her to be able to perform a function, traditional duties, and it has nothing sexual or marriage, as I've indicated, that the Gborbu Wulomo has 4 customary wives. And all of them aid the Gborbu Wulomo in performance of his duty. When Nayemwede is of age, and she feels she wants to marry somebody or whatever she wants to do, by her role as Nayemwede, that also will be made public, and a particular right will be performed, because as I've indicated, she sits on the Shade stool. She sits on the Shade stool, and the Shade stool, it is only a virgin that sits on that stool when she is of age, and that she's of age, and that she wants to get married or wants to lay with a man. She will have a right has to be performed, so that she will not be able to sit on that stool again, because it is only virgins that sit on that particular stool. So a particular right will also be performed. The GaDangme Council are not the custodians of our tradition and culture within the Nungua traditional area.
Well, they were seeking to defend the Wulomo, so it seems as if their attempted defense has probably not gone down well.
Very true.
With what you're saying. But in view of the public outcry and in view of the things I've pointed out to you, is the Nungua Traditional Council minded to rethink the rights for Na Yomo Ayemoade, as you call her? Is this a good opportunity to rethink the way you go about installing this person on the stool?
Very true. I mean, at the end of the day, culture in itself is dynamic, and it is not a static process. So, with all that has happened, yes, it wouldn't be out of place if we have a meeting and also look into some of these things and see how best it can be presented.
Especially on the marriage side, presenting beads, perfume, MC running her mouth on what the
chanting and all those things. We definitely have to look at it and re-educate people on some of these things.
So, have you issued an official statement on this since it happened? I know you are the spokesperson. Have you issued an official statement on this?
That will be done this morning.
Then we wait for it. Hopefully, to help us in getting to the bottom of the matter. Thank you, Nibote.
Thank you, Bernard.
Nibote, thank you so much. Nibote Kofi Francois is a Nungua Mankralo, and he's made a point that this is not a marriage, although it's a customary practice which was manifested as a marriage. I'm trying to explain what he said, right? So he's saying that it's a traditional rite, and there are four, if you like, 2 wives. One is 96, one is, I think, in the middle age, one is about 30, and this is the 4th one. This one's supposed to be a virgin. And of course, he does agree that to perform the rite as a marriage breaks the law. I think everybody agrees with that. And also, of course, the word betrothal was not his word. That's GaDangme Council's word, which we have brought into the discussion. But that word itself is very problematic as well. You get my point.
You see, we need to look at the thing as a whole.
Yes,
we
please.
should not look at them in fragments.
Good.
What happened? The ceremony itself, regardless of what the respected, priest told us. Exactly. Yeah. If you look at the entirety of what happened, you will come to one conclusion: that this is likely an offense under our laws. And the reason I'm saying that is that when they were there, they sat there as the elders of the place. They heard the MC. They heard what she was saying.
Exactly.
And they were streaming what was happening live to the whole world. Now, if they had any concerns whatsoever that what she was saying was a clear departure, or what they were doing was inconsistent with what they had intended, that ought to have been communicated.
Yeah.
Now, you don't wait until there is a media outrage and public outrage to come out and now seek to provide explanation after the fact of what is alleged to have been done in breach of the law. With the greatest respect to him, I disagree. Because if you had any concerns there and then in local, you ought to have told, hey, woman, please,
we are not marrying here.
What we are doing is not a marriage ceremony in the sense you are articulating it. And the imagery you were painting in the minds of the people there was inconsistent with what we intended to do.
The council said is to liven the place.
Exactly. No. That's wrong.
Because if it's a traditional rite and you are there speaking to the public about what you're doing, for everybody seeing it was a marriage. You get it? So it's difficult to now disentangle yourself and say it's a rite and not a marriage when the things you gave, the things you said, the way they went, the thing was manifested. And then Sky, the GaDangme Council statement is also a bit baffling because they seek to bring clarity to the matter, but I'm not really sure if they have, because what they said was that, and maybe let me read it. Maybe let me read it, then you comment, because I feel like I don't want to take them out of. And listeners, please forgive us. We've gone beyond 8:20, but to be fair, this is what is trending for the morning. So let me just read the statement.
The second.
No, let me read the full statement. You see, sometimes the lawyers want you to read the full thing, so you don't.
Bernard, I have it. Let me
misconstrue the man. Are you close to statement? You have it. Okay,
yes.
go ahead. Read.
So, addressing the issue of the Gborbu Wulomo's engagement to an underage girl, the recent report of the Gborbu Wulomo being married to a girl under the legal age of marriage has raised concerns and sparked controversy. The GaDangme Council viewed the phenomenon as a complex issue that requires careful consideration and action, and for which reason the council refrained from expressing opinion when the story broke, preferring to do more research and consultations on the matter, considering that the Gborbu Wulomo himself is not an illiterate. At first blush, the council, like all other well-meaning Ghanaians and social commentators, deprecated and denounced the ceremony christened a Ghan customary wedding, boy ekpayo. Additionally, it is not difficult to infer that the significant age difference of the two parties may create an imbalance of power, leading to potential abuse and exploitation. It is essential to acknowledge the legal and ethical implications of marrying a girl who is underage, because in this country there are strict laws in place to protect minors from exploitation and abuse. By marrying a girl who is not of legal age, a traditional ruler is potentially violating these laws and putting the girl at risk of harm. Many have cited the Constitution 1992, the Criminal Offences Act, and the Children's Act all dealing with consent to have sex, to be married, defilement of female, and void marriages, which are legitimate concerns, with some even calling for the police and other state actors to set in. In addition to legal and ethical concerns, there are also societal implications to consider. The traditional rulers' actions have reflected poorly on the Nungua traditional area as well as the GaDangme community in general, giving detractors the opportunity to denigrate and make us objects of derision. The other concerns being whether, since the ceremony is part of the traditions of Nungua, it should be respected and isolated or giving immunity from state laws. That also the council finds problematic. Further probing has, however, revealed that instead of a traditional betrothal, the MCs, who are known during such occasions to exaggerate issues in order to create laughter and liven up the occasion, misled everyone present as well as the entire community to believe that what was happening was traditional wedding. The council has engaged Gborbu Wulomo himself and some of his elders, and it is important to clarify that the traditional ruler has stated that the relationship with the underage girl is a betrothal and not a marriage. This distinction to us has altered the legal implications. We are inclined to side with the Gborbu Wulomo, since the original reportage made the point that there was another ceremony that awaited the girl to purify and prepare her for procreation. We concede that while betrothal could involve an underage person, it does not grant license to the person to start having sexual relationship with such a child, thereby jeopardizing her education and even endangering a difficult childbirth since her organs are not properly developed. The GaDangme Council calls on the Gborbu Wulomo to address the issue and mitigate the concerns surrounding the betrothal and to ensure that the girl's well-being and rights are protected. And that her best interests, such as her education, are prioritized throughout the engagement process. She should continue her education until she reaches the legal age of marriage, and even marriage should not disrupt her education if she is still willing to continue. The GaDangme Council also calls on the parents of the child to keep an eye on her and let her understand that, notwithstanding the betrothal demand by custom, she is still an infant and entitled to enjoy life and engage in youthful pranks like all others of her age. We hope that this statement will assuage injured feelings and let this matter pass. Sincerely, Honorable Ni Ayikwe Otu, President.
Very, very, very distressing story on a marriage of a 12-year-old. It's, I don't even know how to put it, because the interview with the Mankralo sought to distinguish between the customary right of having a stool wife, quote unquote, and then a marriage, right? Then the GaDangme Council's statement also seeks to distinguish between a marriage and a betrothal. But the problem with the GaDangme Council is that either they forgot or did not realize that using the word betrothal does not absolve the people who did what they did, because Kai, which law did you read right now?
So I read to you the Children's Act.
The Children's Act.
Yes,
if you can read,
14.
if you can read the full thing, that whole construction, to help my listeners.
Okay.
Children's Act. This is 19 what?
Section 14.
Section 14
of the Children's Act, 1998.
1998.
Yes. So it says 14, right to refuse betrothal and marriage. Subsection 1 says no person shall force a child, A, to be betrothed, B, to be the subject of a dowry transaction, or C, to be married. And subsection 2 says the minimum age of marriage of whatever kind shall be 18 years. Of whatever kind shall be 18 years.
And what is even distressing is that the GaDangme Council attempts to sort of quote the outcome of an interaction with the Wulomo. You get it? If they had just expressed an opinion and said, in our view, what happened was a betrothal, that wouldn't be as bad as now saying in the statement that having spoken to the Gborbu Wulomo, he has clarified to them.
That's a thought process.
Do you get it? So let me read that part. And I feel like that part is where the thing becomes very serious, where he says, the council has engaged the Gborbu Wulomo himself and some of his elders. And it is important to clarify that the traditional ruler has stated that the relationship with the underage girl, so they admit it's underage girl, is a betrothal and not a marriage. So all they've done is distinguish between C and A. But they haven't extinguished the import of the whole thing they read, right? It's a betrothal and not a marriage. This distinction to us has altered the legal implications. I really wish they would have given another paragraph to explain what they just said. Do you understand? Because if you listen to everything they said before this, they were basically agreeing with everybody.
Yeah.
That this is wrong, this cannot happen. And then sort of the inflection point was saying we engage the man, and the man said it's a betrothal. Now, you would have said, okay, it's a betrothal. But even for us, we think a betrothal is still problematic because the law is very clear. But then they go on to say, well, because he says a betrothal, we are inclined to side with him. Then it's like, no, are you misreading the law? Or did you read the law? So I feel like so there are two possibilities. Either the explanation of betrothal to him in Ga is not what it is in English. Do you get my point? Because, and again, he should have then used a different word. Because if you had said the explanation the man gave us suggests that what happened is not a marriage, and left it like that, that would have been okay. But you have said it's a betrothal. But the law distinguishes between marriage, betrothal, and dowry, and puts all together and says all those three are prescribed. So how does this alter the legal implications? I really wish he would have given us one paragraph on that.
Yeah, Bernard, I perfectly agree with you. The people who crafted the statement, I want to believe they did not address their minds to the express wording of Section 14 of the Children's Act. If they did, because the person who signed the statement is a distinguished legal brain par excellence, and I do not believe if he addressed his mind to the provision I just read, he would have come to the conclusion that he came to. I think this must have been in error, and I believe that in the fullness of time he will come around and say that look, he did not look at the law.
He needs to really come out.
Because I don't want to believe that he looked at the law, read it, and came to the conclusions he came to. With the greatest respect to our listeners, I don't think that he would have done that.
All right. Bernard, the word is betrothal.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm mispronouncing. Somebody's trying to correct me. It's BETHOTHAL. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not saying it well. All right. Now there's a new development on this.
Yes. Honorable
Francis
Xavier
oh my God.
Susu has issued.
What is he going to do now?
He sent me what do you call a petition that he's directing at the Director General Criminal Investigations Department,
CID,
Ghana Police Service, the headquarters in Accra, and is asking for something. Now, petition for the arrest, investigation, and prosecution of Gborbu Wulomo, Numo Bokete Lawe, the 33rd. The 33rd. So you take it from there. Yeah.
Okay. So the humble petition of Francis Xavier Kojo-Sosu Esquire, Member of Parliament in the Republic of Ghana for the Medina constituency. 1. I am a Ghanaian human rights lawyer and activist and a Member of Parliament for Medina constituency. 2. That on the 1st of April 2024, I read on several news portals to my disappointment the marriage of Numo Bokete Lawe, the 33rd, hereinafter called the Wulomo, to Miss Na Okromo, a 12-year-old girl, hereinafter called the child. That in particular reference to a news item on myjoyonline.com dated 1st of April 2024, the said marriage ceremony took place on Saturday, March 30, 2024 in Nungua. That, in my respectful view, the conduct of the Wulomo constitutes a breach of both local and international laws on child care and protection, and the said conduct is criminal. 5. That Ghana is signatory to several international conventions that abhors child betrothals and marriages. In particular, petitioner requests that you avert your mind to Article 16, Clause 2 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states that marriage shall be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouse. And 6. Further, Article 16 of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women states that women should have the same rights as men to freely choose a spouse and to enter into marriage only with their free and full consent, and that the betrothal and marriage of a child shall have no legal effect, and all necessary action, including legislation, shall be taken to specify a minimum age for marriage. 7. In addition to the above, I wish to respectfully state that beyond the realm of international law, Ghana has taken further steps to criminalize child marriages and betrothals in all its ramifications. In particular, Article 28 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution defines a child as a person below the age of 18 years. In the spirit of Article 28, every child must, and young persons must, receive special protection against exposure to physical and moral hazards. 8. That the said marriage is illegal, null and void, because by law a child under 18 does not have capacity to enter marriage. 9. That notwithstanding the fact that Notwithstanding the fact that traditional religious arguments are being made in support of the said illegality, the Constitution is clear in Article 26 with respect to the limitations of traditions and customs. For the purposes of clarity, Article 26, Clause 1 provides as follows, quote, every person is entitled to enjoy, practice, profess, maintain, and promote any culture, language, tradition, or religion subject to the provisions of this Constitution, unquote. It provides further in Article 26, Clause 2 that, quote, all customary practices which dehumanize or are injurious to the physical and mental well-being of a person are prohibited, unquote. It is my respectful view that the customary practice being referred to are unconstitutional and not backed by the laws of Ghana. 10. Practitioner states again that Section 14 of Ghana's Children's Act 1998, Act 560, sets the legal age limit for marriages in Ghana at 18 years and expressly prohibits child marriage in Ghana. Section 14, Clause 1 provides, quote, no person shall force a child, 1, to be betrothed, 2, to be a subject of dowry transaction, or C, to be married. 11. Again, Section 15 of Ghana's Children's Act 1998, Act 560 provides for penalties for violation of the laws to include fine, imprisonment, or both. 12. I wish to state that in furtherance of the above, Section 109 of the Criminal Offences Act, Act 29, criminalizes compulsion of marriages. It states that, quote, whoever by duress causes a person to marry against his or her will shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and the punishment of it is a fine or imprisonment of up to 3 years, unquote. It goes without saying that a child has no legal capacity to grant consent in such instances. 13. In the circumstance thereof, it appears that a clear act of illegality and a careless abuse of the right of an innocent Ghanaian child has been perpetrated in full glare of the public. 14. It is in light of the foregoing that I respectfully crave your indulgence and pray that you exercise your powers of arrest, investigations, including potential defilement and prosecution in the defense and protection of this innocent child. 15. I look forward to a swift and expedited action on the matter for the sake of the safety of the Ghanaian children across the country. Respectfully submitted, signed, Honorable Francis Xavier Sosu Esquire, human rights lawyer and activist, member of Parliament, Medina Constituency, Corporate Inspector General of Police, IGP, head of DOFSU, Accra, Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Accra, Chairman, Gender Committee of Parliament, Ghana, Accra.
And by the way, the police have issued a statement on this.
Yes.
We got that. We'll read that for you.
That's
then
true.
we have 2 reports. We are told the Chief Justice Minister gave an interview
Right.
where he said it's been investigated. I'm told the Minister designate for Gender has also posted on a social media platform. Let's read the police statement.
This is the police. The Ghana police has identified and located the 12-year-old girl who is alleged to have been married to the 63-year-old Gborbu Wulomo in Nungua, Accra. The girl and her mother are currently under the protection of the police. The Ghana Police Service is working with the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection and the Department of Social Welfare to provide her with the necessary support while the matter is being investigated. It has a lot of reactions and comments on social media.
Any more statements coming in? I read for you the GaDangme Council statement. GaDangme lawyers also sent a statement roundly condemning what happened. You read the Pediatric Society. I'm sure Child Rights International have issued a statement, as have EduWatch. But here are some quick questions and comments. Nathan.
Right, somebody's asking, somebody has some questions for the Traditional Council. They're asking who takes care of the young lady, where will she live, who's directly responsible for her upkeep, and will she continue with her education? So those are some questions. This one says, can you please bring to the studio, call one of the Nungua chiefs? I think we spoke to an official.
That's what I did earlier.
We spoke to an official there, so that's fine. This one says, I'm surprised with the actions of the police in the said concerning the said marriage, not to think the action as selective. I pray they identify others happening among some northern Akan Volta and some western tribes, this person is saying. And he says, I'm surprised and sad as the police are highlighting only the current happening to make it look like it's a one-off, while their intelligence should advise them of the many that have happened or may still be going on. Fred Owari in airport. Chijioke says, this is a pure marriage ceremony, should be condemned by all well-meaning Ghanaians. Those involved should be arrested and made to face the full wrath of the law. Alfred from Teshi says, please ask him if you allow his daughter to go through that, since he's saying it's not marriage.
That will be too personalized.
This one says, I strongly condemn child marriages in all forms. I feel the law is sometimes inadequate to provide proper protection for its citizens. And it goes on to state the Children's Act 1998. Sky, I'm sure you're very familiar with that. Steve from Tema sent that particular one. And it says, this marriage is totally criminal. It makes no sense. 12 or 13-year-old, the difficulty with these issues, usually the parents of the victims, once they are brainwashed or sometimes coerced to make these decisions, it becomes difficult for rescue. They invariably convince the victim to see nothing wrong with it as well. I really pray she's rescued. Abdul, who's listening from Tamale. All right. Okay, a few questions for the official we interviewed. I think that this one came earlier.
But yeah, let's listen to them.
All right, it says, please ask him if he will give his 13-year-old to go through that ceremony. Also ask him if there aren't any older virgins in that traditional area to serve that purpose. Ask him how old the previous virgin was when she got on that stool. It says we should interview the parents of the child.
Well, the police say they are now, they know where they are, so I'm don't know.
All right, this one says the man is not being honest. There's more. Kindly ask him what the parents took as a dowry. It says some of us can't say more. Personally, add their name. Melchizedek from Oyibi. Yeah, from Oyibi says sometimes these people who come out to defend these things should be arrested because they are all suspects of pedophilia. Also, the MC should be arrested based on how she described it, meaning she's also a suspect.
MC, dear Charlie. I'm sure her business by now.
This one says, please, the man should rather apologize than try to defend the indefensible. This one says, why are you allowing this people to sugarcoat this? We all heard and we've seen some of the footage of ceremonies by ourselves. This is abuse. Everybody involved should be made to face the law. So can't the custom wait till she's 18 or the custom will die out? This one says, perfectly said by the gentleman Bernard is interviewing now. But I overheard the marriage MC insinuating sexual pleasures to be enjoyed by the man in the marriage. Ask the gentleman whether the chief will have intercourse with the 13-year-old.
To be fair, these questions came in while the interview was going on, so I actually did. So... And many people asking whether they couldn't find an 18-year-old virgin to play that role, because you can have a place where tradition and law meet. So a virgin doesn't have to be somebody below 18, so that they are. You see, whatever you are doing, you are circumscribed by the law. So even if you are looking for a virgin can be 19, 20.
No, unfortunately, if you look at the news publications, let me just say that Article 2, we are sending a letter to the Attorney General on the subject matter, inviting a thorough investigation. The reason why we are concerned, Bernard, is that if you look at some facts coming in from the Shraj, it would seem that 1 in every 5 Ghanaian child gets married before 18 years.
20%.
Yes. And these are facts from Shraj.
Wow.
And if you go to the publication I'm talking about, there are so many publications that quote a certain priest or chief in the Nungua area. What do you call it? What's the name? Let me just get that name quickly.
Say Chocho Soyo.
Who is reported to have said that there is no virgin.
Why did he say that?
That's different.
Wow.
Then she's not the one.
Yeah, so the name is Manche Odaifio Wulenchi, who apparently endorsed this.
Where was this an interview?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's your point.
Who interviewed there?
So
did he say this in public?
Yeah, that's right. The likes of Joy in my news have also published it.
Oh, no.
Asserting that there is no virgin below 9 years in Nungua. The whole of Nungua.
Below 19?
9 years in Nungua.
What do you mean below 9? That doesn't make sense. Below 9 or above 9?
Okay, so
it can be below 9
of a tender above the tender age of 9 years.
So above?
Yes.
Not below. You said
below. Okay, sorry. So there is, I mean, you can't make a statement like that because Nungua is a huge community. And the sons and daughters of Nungua don't only live in Nungua. There are those who may be outside the country. There are those who may be within the country but not in Nungua.
Yeah.
And I believe without any proof, I believe that there should be a virgin somewhere in Nungua or outside Nungua who is not below the
age of 18.
The age of 18, right? So if you look at this in the round, it would seem to me that there is something troubling that may or may not have informed what happened. And it is important that the institutions of state, including the Attorney General, because what's happening is that our name is being soiled on the international stage.
Yeah, this story is everywhere.
When these things occupy BBC, CNN, and all of that, they create problems for all of us. Bernard, let me take you to the paper that I was talking about from Shiraj.
Okay, so Shiraj has a paper on this?
So it's an earlier paper prepared by Shiraj. It says Child, Early and Forced Marriage Research, prepared by the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Ghana. Now, the very first question says, it goes into something else, but let me just read that before I go into the section that I believe is very useful for our purpose. Please provide information and data on the prevalence of child, early and forced marriage in relation to the number of women and girls living in specific humanitarian settings. Kindly provide data disaggregated by sex and age and in relation to the overall number. Now it says that Human Rights Council Resolution 3516 describes humanitarian setting to include humanitarian emergency situations, forced displacement, armed conflict, and natural disaster. Ghana, for the past 3 decades, has not experienced any major humanitarian condition, properly so called. However, the country is exposed to, quote and unquote, multiple weather-related and health-related hazards, particularly floods. Now, more specifically, there is the occurrence of perennial flooding as well as pockets of intractable chieftaincy and related conflicts in some parts of the country that, more often than not, lead to forced displacement. Now, these humanitarian situations contribute to high levels of poverty, which intersect with socio-cultural practices affecting the prevalence of child, early, and forced marriages in Ghana. And there's an acronym for it, which is CEFM. Now, the factors associated with CEFM in Ghana include poverty, customary laws that condone such practices, such as girls being given in marriage as compensation and settlement for family or communal issues like debt, and lack of education and employability or livelihoods opportunities for girls. Now, others include lack of knowledge and poor enforcement of laws that protect girls from CEFM, school dropout, moral and sexual safety considerations. Example, fear of girls' early engagement in sex and pregnancy out of wedlock. Now, the minimum legal age for marriage in Ghana is 18 years. However, girls below 15 are literally pushed into marriage. Thus, CEFM in Ghana manifests as both a violence and social development issue. Moreover, the National Strategic Framework on Ending Child Marriage 2017 to 2026 reports that 1 in every 5 girls in Ghana gets married before 18 years, with emphasis on the percentage of girls between 20 to 24 years. Now, this translates to a national prevalence rate of 21%. Specifically, 2% of women aged 15 to 19 years, 5% of women aged 20 to 24, and 11% of women aged 45 to 49 were married by the age 15. Bernard,
can you repeat that?
The numbers. Now, this translates to a national prevalence average of 21%. Specifically, 2% of women aged 15 to 19, 5% of women aged 20 to 24, and 11% of women aged 45 to 49 were married by age 15. Now, child marriage.
20% of our women were married by age 15.
Yes.
15.
Yes. If you put the numbers together.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, child marriage.
This is trash.
Yeah, this is trash, telling us in a paper they prepared. Now, child marriage disproportionately affects girls over boys. Among boys aged 20 to 24 years, 2% were married before the age of 18. So, even boys are also being married before they turn 18, compared to 21% of girls. Now, it goes on to say the phenomenon of CEFM in Ghana also has regional, educational, health, geographic, and wealth dimensions. Now, the regions in the north, Upper West, Upper East, and North, which has now been divided, have significantly higher prevalent rates, averaging 34%. So when you go to the northern parts of the country, according to this paper, 1 in 3 girls were married before they turned 18. That's 34% according to the paper. Serious? Now, it goes on to say that there is high prevalence of child marriage in rural areas as compared to urban areas, with a rate of 36.2% for the former and 19.4% for the latter. Now, this reflects the general statistics, as women in urban areas are indicated to marry 3.5 years later than those in rural areas. Also, girls from poorer households, that is 41.2%, are most likely to be married by age 18 years than girls from richer households, that is 11.5%. So poverty has got a huge lot to do with it. In addition, high education level is a factor that decreases the prevalence of child marriage. Now, 41.6% of women with no education married before the age 18, while 4.7% of women with secondary or higher level of education married before the same age.
So education is a major issue.
Exactly. It must be noted that if the present prevalence rate of or level of 21% remains as it is, Ghana risks more girls marrying before 18 years, as the population rate also increases. Now, there's further explanation in this particular part, but I just thought that I should bring...
That's a very troubling statistic.
Exactly.
So this topic is not necessarily just it's a good case study of a bigger problem for Ghanaian society. 20% of girls marrying before age 15. Here's a voice clip from the Nungua Manche speaking about this matter.
If you find what you have I want to pursue man. What fair was here? Come on, not quite the boss, no cost, no way. So what fair was here? They call me the concron. They believe me. I don't know, give my lady a candidate. Ye malemi kan Lord, no ni ama ya malemi. We ko nu wa fi olo wa lo nu wa pe no ko. Me bo ba de na me ye pi fa ba ke be je ko ba ke o. Aka nu mo ke ko ya yi sumo e da ko to de ke ye mo bi me nka ma ke. Nu wa ku su ke gama ku su e bo to e cha ke. Kaji aka afi ku su. Wonu wole ni afi ole. Ni manchaji o kuna moju o fe mo ni mata in governance ni abahale yo ni kele ba fe kuso ni ake atao yo flow ni wo ke deji atao yo flow ameke mi ake ngene shi wo tane ni baba na na kan yo flow ko ye kaji aleno ni o mekeje ko kawaye ko e ja ka moto ni wo ta shi ne Aka be fẹ́ni yẹn nù wá mà ní. Kẹ̀hẹ́ kọ́kọ́ mi fẹ́ ní àmẹ́nà àfi ìnà ẹ̀hún rẹ̀. Àmì fẹ́ jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ jìndí àmì. Abàtẹ. Fẹ́ akọ̀mọ̀. Ẹjọ́ sùn. Akọ̀mọ̀ fẹ́. Yọ̀wọ̀ kẹ́ àkèyí méjì kẹ́yìn mẹ́ ká mọ̀ kò yẹ kó àwa yẹ kó. Nànà àkàwọ̀ mi náà ẹni ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ náà akọ̀kọ̀ yẹ. Mọ̀nà àṣà náà ní akọ. Wọ́n amẹ́jẹ̀ ń bá kábẹ́sì. Ewọ̀ làáfẹ́ lọ́nà àfihàn. Ṣé ẹ̀ báìbù mi? Kẹ́ ìṣe àmì náà wọ́n ní àmì fún lẹ̀ kó ní àmì fi lẹ̀. Ẹ̀mú ọ̀nà akẹ́nu mo ní wọ́n ní ìlú akẹ́nu ọ̀nà akọ́kọ́ ìmọ̀lẹ́ ní ẹ̀mí kó ní ní ẹ̀kẹ́ jẹ̀. Bíbí bàbá ó yẹ mi ní ìbáyé akẹ́ ẹ̀sẹ̀ akẹ́ nǹkan wá tàṣe. Ìjà kẹ́ custom is not dynamic. Changes. Bẹ̀ni dàní gbẹ káṣí kẹ́ yàn sọ̀ náà ní àwọn yóò tẹ̀mẹ̀ kẹ́bí yà wò ẹ̀ nàkà bí ẹ̀ wò. Yàwó. Ìyẹn tó tó bá kò tẹ̀. Nakambiahu.
Obrata ma je. Keresani. Enye na. Sawa obodoe. Sawa. Ma obodoe.
Mankado kemya ke.
Every day.
Obinko, aloje bo de. E kan nu wa be ko e. Ke no je mena do.
Dabi.
Sino mi e maja cheme.
Ne fi ato ebo we.
Maja cheme. Ke wulo me. Ke mankalo me ke ni bi twen ba trash na no fe amele wo. Mo bi do no na me sumo.
Mo bi.
Shimane Mankalo edu, Manche edu, Buramo edu, Nkwebi so. No asake wo bele wo jana, no what can any be, no what can be near. When no no ajaje, no ajaje. No ni wo so, ni wo me.
Mo bi.
Chicago go akwe, Busun. GaDangme, let me shall never take care of my nobody.
Mo bi.
Do we wait, you my friend, enemy, the level lady way. No, she go make home. And matter they can come from no call. No, can you? I wish I could from the program. Well, yes,
So it's 2 minutes to 9. We need to get a context of this. I think he was speaking in a group here. He had some of his elders with him.
Yes.
And I think somebody had read something from the scripture or the Bible, which he said justifies what they did. And then he also said that Nungua tradition is Nungua tradition, is not going to change. Mm-hmm. And that those who have been talking about what they did should find a virgin, because apparently most of the girls...
Yeah, he said...
So what you just said is what he said, that
they couldn't find...
They couldn't find a virgin. But then getting to the end, he also kind of said tradition has to evolve. But I'm not sure if I heard him right, because at the end he said, for example, how they used to walk to the seaside, they've changed that. So there are some things that have to change. So I'm not sure if I understood him fully, but you are gone, so I don't know if I've interpreted
no,
right.
No.
This is what he said.
Yes, I think he was talking about... He did say that, traditionally, things were evolving. He mentioned some of the things that happened in the past, but didn't happen now.
Yeah. So, which is a different position than what he said at the beginning.
Yes.
So this is like a reaction to the backlash.
Yes, but at the beginning he said that, look, this is our culture. He's made reference to Nungua Kusum. So this is what we do here, is Nungua culture. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. So for me, the two
positions, it's a bit confusing.
A bit confusing, because on one hand you say this is what we do, but on the other hand you talk about modernity and the fact that things are changing and things must change. So,
and again, he didn't address the issue of whether it was a marriage or not. He was more like responding to the discussions around the issue, but not necessarily say that this is a marriage or not a marriage. He was basically saying somebody had read a portion of supposedly the Bible. We didn't hear that. And he said that even with the person's reading, it sort of justifies what they did. So he actually at the end congratulated the guy for reading that portion. I don't know what portion the person read. Again, so it's a voice clip. But I played it to just emphasize what you read. Yeah. That he did say that those who are saying that what they did is wrong, where can they find virgins? Because almost all the girls at that age have been deflowered. Which I also think is a much bigger issue. And you see, for me, it shouldn't even be glossed over. Because if you're saying that the age of consent is 18, fine, for marriage. I think age of consent for sex is 16.
Yeah.
Based on our laws. All right. So if you have carnal knowledge of a person below 16,
yeah, that's defilement.
You understand? So in a sense, we are agreeing that our 15, 14, 13 year olds are being defiled, and yet we don't see that as much of a problem. Do you understand? So for me, that concession also is a problem for the society. That you're saying you can't find somebody above that age who's a virgin to use for the right. Do you get my argument?
Yes. You see, I even with the greatest respect to the traditional leaders in Nungua, I dispute that position. They cannot make that sweeping statement and leave it unchallenged, because they have not gone to every home in Nungua to inquire. It is impossible that they did that. You can't say, because I believe there are respectful homes, there are proper homes, there are homes that hold that the flower of a woman
in that high esteem.
Yeah, that's right. So when you make a blanket statement like that about your own people, it is completely unacceptable. And like I said previously, it is not the case that all citizens of Nungua live in Nungua. So even if, assuming without admitting, which is disputed, that you did not find any virgin in Nungua, please, there are children, there are men and women of Nungua outside Nungua. So if you couldn't, per your claim, find one, explore elsewhere. And Bernard, the voice clip we just listened to exposes the palpable misinformation that may have been articulated as an attempt to explain away what had happened. To say that, traditionally, that is not what happened. What we were doing was just symbolic, traditional and all. Because you heard him. And this is the person who is...
No, but he didn't say in the clip that it was a marriage. I mean, the clip was more to justify what happened.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But he didn't explicitly say that it was a marriage.
No, that's right. I'm not talking about the marriage bit. I'm talking about... I told you that let's look at everything in the round. We should not look at things in isolation. We have heard the voice clip.
Yes.
We also heard from the GaDangme Traditional Council. It's an institution within the Gas system that is respected because they speak authoritatively on many matters affecting the good people of the Gan areas. And they issued a statement from no less a person than a former Attorney General of the Republic. And in that statement, they told us that they spoke with the Wulomo. And the Wulomo told them that it was
a betrothal.
Exactly. And I do not believe that they would have misreported
what the interaction was.
Exactly, the interaction was. If that is the case, maybe the Wulomo himself.
But don't forget that the man Carlos said the issue statement is money.
Yeah,
so it's quite clear. And this is the other thing you should notice. Again, put everything together. Thing happened over the weekend. Interview granted by the chief within the same weekend in response to the backlash. Mankralo gives an interview this morning, but a statement has not come out yet. So that should tell you that the matter is quite dicey and delicate. Now, while all this is going on, the Sempe Mancha has also issued a statement.
Yeah, he's been condemning the Gborbu Wulomo's married to 12-year-old girl. And so I could say...
Yes, read the statement.
Yes, okay. So the paramount chief for the Sempe traditional area, Ni Adote Otinto II, is peeved by the recent marriage between 63-year-old Gan priest and 12-year-old girl child. According to the Mankralo of the Ga states, the act is unwarranted and does not align with the customs of the GaDangme people. He said the president, the traditional authorities and other institutions have a role to play in protecting the girl child, and that the 1992 constitution is paramount and above any law or tradition. Hence the GaDangme must rise and ensure that this evil ends. He said the youth are the future and they must be protected, saying that if these things are allowed to continue, there would not be a future for the Ga youth. Ni Adrete Otinto II promised not to take the matter lightly, but will pursue it to ensure that the right things are done. Just days ago, a customer,
background.
Yeah. So background there, and then our spokesperson comes in. Nibote Kofi Frankwa II said, "What is happening is a dent on the reputation of all GaDangme people. I'm telling all Ga youth that this is the time for them to rise. Some leaders of the ethnic group are dragging the tribe through the mud." So people are not happy.
Yeah, but in the statement, we are told that they cited the secretary of the Simpi Paramount Chief Officer, C. Edwentry, who said the ceremony that was carried out by the Gborbu Wulomo was purely a marriage and that is against the Constitution, the Children's Act. So,
what is also
so now, I mean, the significance of this is to have Otinto
condemn,
also join now to condemn.
Yeah,
you get it? Because it tells you that this is not even so. I mean, the Nungua people really need to issue that statement properly for us to understand what they are trying to do. Because and from the statement that has been attributed to Otinto, he is being described as the Mankralo of the Ga, right? So he is basically condemning what happened. I haven't heard his voice clip though, but I've seen this on multiple platforms that he has come out to condemn what happened. So we will have to carefully read what the Nungua Traditional Council will say in defense or explanation or in apology of what has happened, or in reversal, or whichever position they choose to take. Because
and let me draw there.
And then hold on, I just want to get government side so far. The only person I have read is police.
Yeah,
I am told the chieftaincy minister has said something, but he didn't say it to us. I can go on join and check it for me.
Okay.
I was told that we don't have a substantive gender minister because the gender minister was removed and the new one has not been approved yet.
Yes.
All right. So I'm not sure if there's anything on that side from the gender ministry side, because the ministry's concern would definitely be Attorney General, obviously the gender ministry, and then the chieftaincy ministry. I think those are the three. If I'm mistaken, gender, chieftaincy, AG, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Those are the three ministries that's concerned.
Yes.
We haven't heard anything from AG. We heard from the police.
Yes, we have heard from the police.
Yeah, but usually the police will prosecute on behalf of the state. But police didn't even use the word arrest. They said they have. So police are using a more let's secure the girl and the mother. They are using that approach. The AG hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah, but we have issued.
But usually, Sky, hold on. Usually the flow is that there's an investigation and the AG comes in. Oh,
yeah. So, but this thing, because his office is combined with that of justice and the welfare generally, of the legal liberties and all of that of Ghanaians generally. Of course, he has the authority to direct or issue the appropriate or advise that the appropriate institution should go and look into this particular matter. His opinion matters because on the international stage, that will come with some weight. And then also, he will be able to explain to us, if he looks into it, whether or not what happened, strictly speaking, in his opinions, in his opinion, aligns with
all the
what we've been told.
And the laws, all that's so quoted.
Exactly.
From international to all those.
Yeah, that's right. So that is on one level. But the criminal aspect of it too is there. We are not saying that the man has committed a crime. We're saying that there is a suspicion of possible crime having been committed. Because if you look at the ceremony and everything in the round, and again, we are told that the young lady was, what do you call it, procured at 12 years.
Now they're saying 13, but that doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, that's right. That if she was allegedly procured at 12 years, that in itself aggravates the whole matter. Because the question is whether at that age, legally speaking, she could have consented. The answer is no. And at 13 or 12 years, can she consent to a thing like that? The law is that no, you can't do it. The only time a person can properly consent to marriage without the involvement of the parents is where you are in excess of 18, 21 thereabout. At 18, your parents even have to be involved. Now the question is whether the parents of the lady, the young girl in question, were properly advised
on this matter,
educated as to understand the implications of what they were getting into. And Bernard, if you look at the provisions of our Constitution, Article 11, and I heard the spokesperson of the stool sought to say that, oh, this is the tradition of the people of Nungua. It doesn't whitewash the matter, because Article 11 of the Constitution of the Republic subsumes customs and traditions and what we do with them under the Constitution. Of course, it's recognized under Article 11. And if you go further into the Constitution, the provision under Article 39, cultural objectives, one says, subject to clause 2 of this article, the state shall take steps to encourage the integration of appropriate customary values into the fabric of national life through formal and informal education and the conscious introduction of cultural dimensions to relevant aspects of national life. Now, the second one says, the state shall ensure the appropriate customary and cultural values are adapted. You understand? So in this case, you may have a cultural value, but you must adapt them to develop,
align with the laws
as an integral part of the growing needs of the society as a whole. And in particular, that traditional practices which are injurious to the health and well-being of the person are abolished. If you look at Article Section 2 of the Children's Act, the welfare principle of the law is expressly stated there, that when it comes to dealing with children, what shall be paramount is the welfare of the child. Nobody can tell me that what happened over the weekend is in the interest or protects the welfare of the child. And the kinds of things that were said while the young girl was there, they were directly exposing her, conscientizing her as to what was expected of her at an age where that conversation ought not have been happening. So if you look at this whole thing in the round, the statement that we played on the radio, the statement issued by the GaDangme Traditional Council, the things that the MC at the ceremony said, and the suggestion that this is rooted in custom, all these things do not align with the laws of this country. And I believe that there has got to be a firm decision. There has to be an investigation. There has to be an arrest, first of all, so that the person will know that, look, you are properly being investigated for ABCD. And where there is compelling evidence as to secure conviction in a court of law, I think the people involved have got to be prosecuted. There should be no two ways about it.
We'll read a few final comments on this before I get into my next interview.
Nashika is not happy. Nashika sends us a message and she says, good morning, Bernard and Tim. I don't agree with the Nungua king in any way, because I am a native of Nungua, and I was a virgin till I got married at age 26, and I know other girls who are also virgins. Good morning, Bernard and Tim. There's a wider issue in some gang communities which could explain their doubts about the existence of virgins among older teens or early adults. There's empirical research to the effect that in some cases, teen girls in some gang communities compete with regards to those whose child naming was more glamorous. So even getting pregnant and delivering your child and organizing a naming ceremony is normative in these communities.
That's true.
Good morning, Bernard and team. What is the man talking about? When a queen is installed, is she given perfume and waist beads and told the significance of using them with respect to the chief? This marriage betrothal is wrong on all fronts. Kusu is the way of life of a particular group of people. Is this accepted among the people? When the customary laws were being documented under the ascertainment of customary law project of the National House of Chiefs, is that what was recorded? I'm so outraged by the explanations being given to justify this wrongdoing. I hope the laws take cause. Mimi from Pokwasi. Hi, Bernard. Does this mean AMA does not have a record of this as a traditional marriage?
That's That's a good question. We don't know.
We have a long way to go in educating the populace about the supremacy of the Constitution.
I agree with you.
Good morning, Bernard.
Morning.
My question for the gentleman is, why must it be a 12-year-old girl?
Good question.
There was no 18-year-old woman in Nungua. The law has been broken and the laws must be enforced. We cannot go backwards after all the work that has been done against such.
From TK
send that through. Bernard, a lot of work has indeed been done. We'll go into that later. Bernard, marriage ceremonies are occasions which are used to advise other persons who are at the age of marriage on the expectation to make your marriage work. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got that right.
Okay. There were excesses, but let's not use that to rubbish our whole culture. Okay, good morning, Bernard.
Morning.
I'm happy this issue has popped up for it to be discussed. This same thing happens a lot in the north. Young girls are betrothed to old men, and some old men marry these young girls. Sometimes these girls have no option than to run away to the south to do kaya. Sincerely, this law protecting young girls from early marriage hardly works in the north. It's happening and it's sad. Ajara sent that from Carson. Bernard, I have national averages from 2011 and 2024. So if you look at it, Northern region, Upper East, they have like very bad numbers. So in 2011, the national average in the Northern region was 27.4%. And then, if you come to 2024, it shot up to 39.6%.
Wow, it's gone up.
Yeah, so from 27.4 to 39.6%. Upper East had 39.2% in 2011. And if you come to
2024.
Yeah, and then it came down to 36.1. So if you're looking at it, basically in the rural areas, child marriage is a big deal, and it's more prevalent in the northern region. And my concern was even how this particular ceremony was glamorized. It was all streamed on social media. Everyone saw it. We've all heard what the MCs were talking about and all. And this is in Accra, Bernard. So for those people who are using child marriage, especially the men in the rural areas who are superintending over this, they get to see this and nothing happens as a result of all the backlash. I think that things will get worse even in the rural areas. More reason some action must take place.
Oh my God, 26 minutes past 9. We'll take a breather. So many comments, guys. This has generated so much interest. And, it's good to have constitution and the law, and we must educate the public, because somebody said we need to educate a lot of Ghanaians about what the constitution means. We seem to have ratified it, but we don't really understand what it means to live under a constitution. Yeah. We sort of choose and pick what we want to obey and what we don't want to obey. But if you read that document carefully, there's so many things we do in Ghana which are illegal. Yep. And we haven't abated our minds to it. I was telling somebody that, it's funny how somebody said thinks we have too many lawyers in Ghana. We need more. We don't need lawyers. We need more law-abiding people. Yeah. People who understand the law. And maybe people should be taught constitution from a very early age. Civics and also their rights and responsibilities. Maybe they should break it down so that it gets ingrained. Because the document by which we live is the constitution. And there's so much ignorance and abuse of it. 1 ton. 1 ton. It's like, you are just book long, law. Yeah. But you only say somebody's book long when you are on the right. When somebody is violating your rights, the law is good. We must all subject ourselves to the law. Otherwise, you can't have a functioning society.